because we do have people joining online as well. Hi, Jean. All right, let's get started here. Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday night class on loving kindness here at the Dharma Bum Temple. It is wonderful to be here with you tonight. My name is Alex. Is there anyone here, this is your first time to the Dharma Bum Temple? Wow, a lot of first timers. Nice. How did you hear about us? Friend? But you guys? Oh, through a friend? Nice. Nice. Someone dragged you here? Nice, perfect. Good job. Nice, perfect. All right. So, the class here at the Dharma Bum Temple on Loving Kindness is pretty much like all the other classes here, in that we're going to have this short introduction. What's up, Slim? That's Travis, by the way. We're going to have this short introduction, and then we're going to have a meditation on loving kindness. I'm going to kind of describe what that is and kind of how we relate to this practice beforehand. And then we're going to have, question and answer. I'm always interested to know what your experience of meditation is, and hopefully that will get us into a discussion of some kind. And then we'll have some announcements where our person you met at the door, he will give us some announcements, and then we'll end. Ooh, okay, so how many, this is not your first time to the Dharma Bum Temple, but it is your first time to Wednesday. Nice, welcome. Happy to have you here, of course. The word that we're talking about when you hear like loving kindness is the English word. The word that we're talking about in Buddhism is metta, M-E-T-T-A. And this word metta comes from the Pali language. Pali is a language that we think is pretty close to what the historical Buddha spoke 2,500 years ago. The historical Buddha spoke something called the Magadhan language. And they weren't great record keepers then, but we think it's pretty close to Pali. So when, this word metta is translated into English 2,500 years later, the meaning is incredibly rich and can't really be described by just one phrase or one word. And so we typically use loving kindness, but also mean unconditional friendliness, goodwill, concord, amity, inoffensiveness. There's just like a whole slew of words that this can mean. And it's simply just a wish to be happy. A wish for ourselves to be happy, a wish for others to be happy, and more importantly, a wish for ourselves and others to do the things that cause happiness. Because we throw around this word a lot, happy, like what does happy mean, right? And what are the things that cause happiness? So if you think of suffering, it's the opposite of that. So what we mean when we say do the things that cause happiness, you just have to think of the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple. And the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. That's it. Those are things that in a nutshell cause happiness. Of course, it's more nuanced than that, but essentially that's it. We have to take into account our intentions as well. And because the things that cause happiness don't harm ourselves and don't harm other people, our loving kindness will never get in the way of somebody else's loving kindness. If everyone is doing things that don't cause harm to themselves or another person, it's not a problem to wish anyone, even someone you don't like, loving kindness or goodwill. Right? And that's the other great thing about having it, be translated into many different English words, because if you're doing it for a loved one, you're doing this practice for a loved one, the word love comes tripping off the tongue really well. Like, oh yeah, I get that. But if you're doing it for someone you don't like very much or someone you don't know, Maybe another word might be better, like goodwill, friendship, something like that. Right? And the Buddha talked about in the sutras how we should kind of relate to this practice and how to do this practice. And so I would like to read this since we have a lot of new people here. This is the Metta Sutta or the Metta Sutra. A sutra is just a teaching. And so these are the words from the Buddha 2 millennia ago or more. He says, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world." And I love that. And there's really a great deal to unpack there. Because this practice of loving kindness is not just what we're going to do, this 20, 25-minute meditation we're about to do. The Buddha says that we can practice this at any time and should keep this mindset in the forefront of our mind as much as humanly possible, so that we never harm another person, so we never harm ourselves. Part of this meditation is doing loving kindness for ourselves. And for the society that we live in, this is really hard for a lot of people because we're not taught to do this. We're not taught to think in this way. Whereas in the East, in Asia, where Buddhism was born and has thrived for 2,500 years, it's very easy for them because they've been doing it for this long. For us, Buddhism coming into this society, it's really hard for us. When we say have loving kindness for yourself and here's the practice, it's always just a lot of resistance. That's really natural. But the reason it's so important is that if we can have this feeling of loving kindness in our own heart, if we could have that, because this is an experiential practice, if we could have that experience of metta in our own heart, we would never harm ourselves. We would never harm another person. And so we do this practice, and we're going to do it in a bit of a more gentle way than it's normally prescribed, like in how we're traditionally taught, on purpose, just to make it easier for us to have loving kindness for ourselves. Right? So that's what we're going to do. Is anyone here brand new to meditation? Okay. All right. Is there any questions before we start? Okay. So what we're going to do, when we have this meditation on loving kindness, is we're first going to get connected to the breath just for a few minutes, and then we're going to do loving kindness for our benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness, someone it's really easy to have these feelings for, like mother, father, brother, sister, not a romantic partner, but anyone else is that's the guidance. It's not a hard and fast rule, but that's just the guidance. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us, right? And then we're going to do loving kindness for ourselves, and then we're going to do loving kindness for all beings in all directions. And so this is kind of a way, just normally when we teach loving kindness, when we do this practice, we always start with ourselves. We always start with loving kindness for ourselves, because traditionally it's taught that this is the easiest. It's the easiest because we are closest to our own heart. But so often in this culture, we are very far from our own heart, and we are not closest to our own heart. Other people are closest to our own heart. Right? So we do it in the way that we're going to do it, just to gently get us to ourselves. Right? And I like it this way anyway, so that's what we're going to do. All right, any questions before we start? All right. Get seated, get comfortable. Let's do this. So allow your eyes to close. And just making sure you have that posture that's nice and comfortable and sustainable for you. And when we sit like a Buddha. And you can even imagine yourselves as a Buddha sitting underneath your own tree of enlightenment. Whatever that tree is perfectly fine. You can choose any tree you want, because each Buddha has their own tree of enlightenment. And so at first, we're just going to get connected to the breath. Let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. At first, not forcing it, letting the breath be quite easy and quite natural. And then after a few breaths, we're going to experiment with the breath just to see what kind of breath is going to keep us connected to the present moment. Because even in this practice of loving kindness, we're going to still have about 25% of our attention on the breath. It will keep us anchored to our practice. It will keep us anchored to the present. And you can follow the breath all the way in through the nose, into the heart, and down to the navel. And on the exhale, from the navel up through the heart and out through the nose. Just following the breath in, following the breath out. Just for the next few moments, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. And so, to begin our formal practice of loving kindness, we're going to think of a benefactor. Again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness, someone that's really easy to have these feelings for. You just think of this person and you smile, recognizing all the ways that you've benefited from their loving kindness towards you. And so there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can just radiate loving kindness towards this person. Think of them in your mind's eye and just radiate loving kindness, wishing them happiness, wishing they do the things that cause happiness. And however you understand that word radiate. Or you can just repeat phrases of loving kindness for them. Phrases like, may you be happy. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. And so now we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. So shifting our focus just a little bit from loving kindness for our benefactor to now just imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us. We already have the experience of their love and kindness already. So can we just recall that while we picture them in our mind and they're looking at us and radiating loving kindness towards us. And their only job really here is just to receive all of it. Receive all of it with a sense of openness and gratitude. And if it helps, you can put your hand over your heart. If there's there's any resistance, any part of your heart that says, no, I can't receive all of this, can you just take a deep breath? And on the exhale, just direct that breath energy towards that tightness and just giving it a little space. It might loosen, it might not, that's okay. Just keep on doing the practice, receiving all of our benefactors' love and kindness into our own heart. It also helps to smile if we can. Smiling puts our mind in a really good mood. So we'll do this practice, our benefactor doing this practice for us, just for the next few moments. Now shifting our focus yet again to now, can we direct this loving kindness towards ourselves? And you can either just imagine your heart getting bigger and warmer, kind of radiating loving kindness towards yourself, kind of like the Grinch, how his heart gets 3 sizes bigger. Our heart gets smaller and more kind of encased in steel, sometimes it seems like. Can we just imagine that getting bigger, warmer? Or if you want, you can just repeat phrases of loving kindness for yourself. Phrases like, may I be happy. May I do the things that cause happiness. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. You can just choose one or more of those phrases. Still smiling, maybe still with your hand over your heart if you want. Just gently whispering, gently awakening this heart of loving kindness within you. So we'll do this for the next few moments. And finally, we can now just explore the limitless potential of the heart to have this, or to do this practice for all beings in all directions. No matter what living beings there may be, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, those living near and far away, the seen and the unseen, those born or to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. So just extend out as far as you can go, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded. We'll do this to end our practice. Loving kindness, metta, for all beings. Just open your eyes when you're ready. Just let's take the next moment or two out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs. Still keeping that thoughts of loving kindness about you. Don't lose it just because you stop meditating. If you have a question, we'll take questions in a little bit. Ask you about your experience of meditation. We'll just, the next 45 seconds, we'll just be quiet. Stretch some more. All right. Yet again, that was good for me. All right. I needed that, one of the things that I say in meditation is that, even though we have these like different stages of this meditation, sometimes you need to stay in one part of the meditation a little bit longer than the instructions might dictate, and that's okay. And sometimes you just need to do loving kindness for yourself the whole time, which is almost what I was doing this time. Before I got a call, before I left for class today, I got a call saying that, my very small company that I work for was sold. And, I know the people, I know who we sell it to. They're actually a customer of ours. But, whenever something like that happens, there's always like uncertainty and insecurity and all like that. And for someone with anxiety, that's not always the best, thing. And I've learned to, one of the great things about practice is I've learned to manage that a heck of a lot better than I normally would have. But one of the ways in which I do a heck of a lot better at managing that kind of insecurity and uncertainty is just, hey, if I need to do loving kindness for myself this the whole time, then I'm just going to do that because I feel better. So you can do that too whenever you're feeling anxious or afraid, or if you just want to do loving kindness for yourself the whole time, perfectly acceptable. So that was just a little bit about what was going on with me. And that was just my personal experience. So I thought I'd kind of go first because I'm actually really interested to know what your experience is, especially since we have, several new people here at the temple, and maybe people haven't done loving kindness meditation specifically before. So I'm always interested to know what your experience of meditation was. Was there any part that was easier or more difficult? Anything that you were surprised by, pleasantly or not? Anything you have a question on? Whether it's on the meditation or not, doesn't matter. This is kind of pretty freeform here. Anybody want to share experience or have any questions? Yes.
I'm having some contention with my sister over there, our old mother. And I feel like, well, that's her issue. I don't need to engage.
Right.
And so I was surprised that to consider her doing kindness toward me.
Mm-hmm.
during the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go there.
Yeah.
And so it's a benefit for us, for me to have a softening toward her,
Mm-hmm.
because I could easily
For sure.
about her.
Especially with family, right? Yeah.
Especially since she just ranted at me, and I could easily just say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and hold her that way. So I'm glad I came and had the chance to hold her in a friendly way. And
Yeah.
for benefit of the family,
Yeah.
me, her, mom.
And it's especially difficult. First of all, I'm really glad that you were able to kind of have that realization, that opening, whatever that was for you, softening, because that's wonderful. And it's especially, it could be especially hard with family, right? Because we're so kind of attached. That's why the instruction on, loving kindness is to stay away from like a romantic partner, because there's usually a lot of attachment there, whereas sometimes it could actually produce like the opposite like effect. But I'm glad that you could have that kind of opening for her, because we're all doing our best. So often we want to not suffer, but we do the very thing that causes suffering, and we get trapped in that kind of cycle. And with this practice, we're trying to kind of not do that, and to not engage, and to not take it personally, and all that kind of stuff. So that's wonderful that you're able to kind of come to that place.
In the family, I'm at a point where I need to step up for my mother, and it's a different state. I was just there for 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and at home with my mother, and watching myself get frustrated, and I think I benefited from catch myself. Okay, let that go.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Right.
Just go back to be kind.
Right.
I'm glad for.
And she's there with your mother all the whole time?
No, she lives in the same town, a couple miles away, but.
Oh, but she's.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean she's in the she's.
Yeah, so that's her thing is.
Right.
Here.
She's right there, right, and you're not. Right, yeah.
So for a few weeks I was there.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What is your name?
Karen.
Karen. Nice to meet you, Karen. Thank you.
So, Karen, I just want to say that you're not alone. This was not my benefactor tonight, but I recently been speaking to my sister for a year with the death of my father, and I was alone with it. So I'm really happy for you that you had that experience. I hope it doesn't go as long as maybe I did, but I know what finally got me over it was that, for me, I was harboring some unforgiveness. And it was only causing me pain and anguish. So it was really beautiful to be able to let that go. And she and I are very different, so we're never going to be, but that's okay. She's my sister and I love her.
Yes. Oh, I thought you were like open your mouth like you were about to say something. I was like,
I was gonna, like you were saying, it's funny that we say this family thing.
family's hard.
Yes, and my cousins live with my grandparents, and they're getting a lot older. They're having rough times, and I had my rough time, and now I'm straightening up. I'm helping my parents, whatever I can do. I'm helping my grandparents. And when I went to their house the other day, I'm sort of really bullheaded. I'm stubborn.
Sure.
And when I saw him there, I'm like, oh God, we let this one in here. Oh my Lord. And my grandparents really don't understand why we are like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled me outside, and when we were younger, him and like 3 of his friends, we were playing football, and his friends and him did something to me, sort of traumatizing.
Yeah.
And you know, we would step outside and we talked a little bit. He sent me a request on one of those friend request things, Facebook, Snapchat. I'm like, do I accept it? Do I really want him back in my life? And it was just weird, you know. It's like, do I do this? Do I accept it? And I actually saw myself, because I was one of those ones like, I was like, I'm not going to be mean about it, but I was like, I could cross the street. And then tonight I saw myself saying, I just wish the best for him.
Yeah.
I wish the best for him, and I just feel that, you know, he has to live with that for the rest of his life, what he did to me. And him and his friends have to live for the rest of their lives what they did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And just the look on his face when I walked in, and it just hurts because I know eventually, I mean, I'm 44 years old. This happened when I was 20-something. And my grandparents, nobody knows. You know, just like, my grandfather, you know, he's just like, what do you guys talk about, bud? I said, oh, we had a little argument when we were younger. That's it. And I'm just so embarrassed to tell them. I'm embarrassed, like, you know, I mean, I let it happen. And I know my grandfather, you know, he's going to say you didn't let it happen. But some part of me still holds guilt, like, yeah, I did. I could have fought harder. I could have fought, you know, stronger, but I didn't. And I just saw myself tonight, just, you know, usually if I thought about it, even like right now, usually if I would have talked about him, I would just want to,
Yeah.
but I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
I want us to both move on in life. If we see each other, hey, cool. But I just want the best for him.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I want the best for him. I just, you know, want him to be happy and just move on.
Right.
I mean, you know, he's family, friends, family, my enemies. I wish them the best. That's it. You know?
Yeah,
That's all
wonderful.
I can say for him.
Thank you. And again, you know, when these things come up, because especially if you're, you know, relatively like newer to meditation, and when I say relatively newer to meditation, I'm meaning like the first couple years or so, maybe even the first 5 years. Things like this will just come up, and you never know when they're going to come up. You know, they maybe come up in a mindfulness thing. Maybe they're going to come up in a loving kindness meditation. Maybe they come up like when you're at work or something like that. But you know, when you stop and you watch the mind and you do some kind of meditation like that, something like this will eventually happen. You know, hurt that has been pushed down and suppressed and forgotten about, now that the mind doesn't have its defenses, will float to the top. And sometimes it'll be quite surprising. And that this happened like during a loving kindness meditation where you had this wonderful tool to use. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's really, you know, one of the incredible benefits of meditation. I'm glad that you're, you know, able to have that kind of, you know, realization. That's one. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. A lot of good stuff happening. That's wonderful. I'm really glad. Yes, sir.
Something really weird came up for me at the last one. I was picturing animals for some reason when I was doing the outer thing, but then all of a sudden Putin's face came up, and I really despise this guy.
It's okay.
I mean, with all my heart, kind of thing. And I was like, why am I projecting love for this person? And I thought maybe that's what I need to be doing instead of this hatred, this I don't know what it is. It's ugly. And I thought maybe that's to benefit myself and maybe to heal something. I don't know. But it was just very strange, and I had to open my eyes right away because I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And maybe just because I'm seeing it so much in the news, I don't know. I just thought maybe you would have some insight into that.
I don't know, but a lot of these things can come up, and you know, when something like that happens, you know, one of the instructions I mentioned earlier on was that you don't always have to use the word love when it comes to these types of people who you have such a strong negative reaction to. You can use goodwill right? Because you can have goodwill for somebody, and just to remember that, to wish for whomever it is to do the things that cause happiness, knowing what causes happiness is not harming themselves or harming another person. Right? So hopefully something like that will, realizing that will kind of like soften the blow a little bit, or soften that kind of reaction. But this is not uncommon at all. I call it the law of 8 billion. Realizing that there are about 8 billion people on this planet, and that's a really big number. That's a huge number, and I think a lot of times when we don't really realize it, because that's really just not a part of our daily lives. We're just so busy going on with our daily lives. We don't realize that there are 8 billion people in this entire world, and if you all taught them meditation, they would all have different experiences and different things come up. 8 billion different types of things come up. And odds are they have plenty of people who would have like the same thing come up as you. Plenty of people. So when a lot of people ask me, well, this came up in meditation, is this normal? Yes, it's all normal. All of it. Because it's your experience. And in a world of 8 billion people, had they been sitting in this class, they'd probably have a very similar experience. Or could have a very similar experience. Because a lot of people think, especially a lot of the crazy things that pop up, that most people won't even dare say pop up. And I know that's the case, because it was the case for me, and I know it's the case for you. If it wasn't, it will be at some point if you keep meditating. Even during a loving kindness meditation, the most horrible thing might come up, or just the weirdest or craziest thing will come up. Yeah, it's all normal. If it keeps on coming up, that's certainly a sign, but it's fine. We have ways to deal with that and ways to relate to that. They're just really, really helpful. So you're not weird if stuff like that comes up, or you're not doing it wrong if stuff like that comes up. And so I think the last thing that I'll say and could you, is that the most important quality that you can bring to a new spiritual practice or meditative practice is your sense of humor. Because some weird stuff is going to happen, and you need to be able to laugh through it and relate to it in a kind of a humorous way, just to kind of lighten the load. And because you're going to fail at things sometimes spectacularly, and that's also normal. And the true spiritual warrior, the real spiritual warrior, which is what we are, with us meditators, we'll get through it, and we'll just keep doing it and not let that stop you.
Hello, everyone. I'm tonight's host, Daryl. We opened the Dharma Temple 15 years ago to introduce Buddhist practices to